Welcome to the podcast summary of the Churchill Machine Tool Company. This one starts with a company importing clever American machine tools into Britain and ends with a famous engineering name surviving long after the original factories were gone. Along the way, Churchill became a specialist in precision grinding, rode war booms, struggled through slumps, tangled with labor politics, and then got folded into the wave of British industrial mergers that promised efficiency and delivered a lot less than advertised. It's a story about how technology moves, how industries rise around it, and how even very advanced firms can still get swallowed by bigger structural problems. Charles Churchill's business began by bringing American engineering equipment into Britain, including things like Morse-tapered twist drills, self-centering drill chucks, and handheld micrometers. That mattered because Britain was still strong in some older engineering fields, but it was behind the Americans in light machine tools and the machinery of mass production. Churchill first said British firms were slow to copy American designs because engineers trusted their own ideas and worried about the cost of setting up production. Then fairly quickly, his own company did exactly what the moment required. It started making American tools under license and then moved into original British designs of its own. So this wasn't just importing gadgets. It was a pretty clear example of borrowed technology turning into domestic manufacturing capability. The timing helped. The bicycle boom of the 1890s created heavy demand for automatic screw machines and related kit, and in 1896 the business was flying with 110,000 pounds in sales, a 30,000 pounds in borrowed, and a startling 230% dividend on just 5,500 pounds of share capital. In 1901, Churchill created a manufacturing subsidiary to adapt and build equipment that had first come in through the import business. By 1906, it was a separate limited company. The two Churchill businesses stayed commercially linked and even shared directors, but over time they also became rival manufacturers, which is a very industrial family business kind of twist. What really set the machine tool company apart was precision grinding, especially once automobile production started expanding after 1910. Harry Hale's Asbridge played a big role on the technical side, helping produce innovative grinders, including a 50-inch swing machine installed in Sheffield that was still working in the 1990s. By 1920, production had moved to Broadheath near Altrincham, on an 11.5-acre site. American machinists called its huge single-story factory, probably the largest British concern of its type, and Churchill was becoming a major name in precision grinding. Churchill kept pushing. Technically, it developed hydraulic machine tool systems, a cambering mechanism for grinding industrial rollers, the hydraulic bearing in 1932 for near-frictionless positioning of the workpiece, and by 1936 it had the first electronic controls for precision grinding machines. Its equipment spread into rail and car production, where precision really mattered. Axle journals, crankshafts, camshafts, piston rings, rolls, all the parts that have to be exactly right if you want the whole machine to behave. And then there's the detail that makes industrial history feel very human. Churchill also built a grinder for Salvation Army trumpet valves. Even late in the game, the ambition was still there. In 1968, working with IBM, the group demonstrated computer-prepared control tapes for a lathe, an early move toward computer numerical control at a moment when the wider British machine tool industry was already heading into trouble. The company's fortunes tracked the wider shocks of the early 20th century almost uncannily. World War I brought huge demand for Churchill grinding machinery and even its heat treatment expertise. Demand was so intense that the government ordered other British manufacturers to build machines to Churchill designs. The company also supplied equipment for HMS Bellerophon after the ship was turned into the floating workshop Indus the Breed, which gives you a sense of how central machine tools were to wartime logistics. Then came the long interwar downturn. From 1921 to 1934, there was no ordinary share dividend at all, and results swung from losses of more than 32,000 pounds in 1923 and 24,100 pounds in 1922 to a profit of 28,600 pounds in 1933. Rearmament changed the picture fast. There was a 12% dividend in 1935, a special 125% dividend in 1936, and profits reached 118 pounds and 800 pounds by 1938. That recovery wasn't simple, though, because Churchill also depended on exports. Soviet contracts helped keep the business going during the Depression, but they became politically trickier as Europe moved toward war. Industrial growth here didn't just run on engineering brilliance. It also ran on labor management, labor conflict, and a lot of anxiety about control. During World War I, one trade union misled the company into paying male fitters, supervising female war workers 48 shillings a week by falsely claiming that Armstrong Whitworth was paying that rate. It's a small episode, but it says a lot about the confusion and tension of wartime production. When workforces were changing quickly, and old job boundaries were getting scrambled. Factory photographs from the war show women stepping into roles opened up by depleted male labor, but management still worried about activism and discipline. By 1936 and 1937, Churchill was among the engineering firms receiving intelligence from the Economic League about anti-capitalist meetings, individual workers, and blacklisted employees. So alongside technical modernization, you also see employers trying to monitor and suppress left-wing activity. The Churchill businesses were also tied into some remarkably prominent people. Sir Greville McGuinness, for example, was chairman, but he was also a leading employer's representative, head of the Engineering and Allied Employers National Federation, president of the Russo-British Chamber of Commerce, and a senior government industrial advisor. The group also had deep links to the Chamberlain and Gabriel families, whose board roles, political connections, and acquisition strategies shaped the business over decades. And in one of those details that makes history feel unexpectedly connected, Richard Hamilton, who later became a major figure in British pop art, worked as a designer at Churchill Gear Machines from 1956 to 1962. By the 1960s, Churchill ran straight into the era of corporate rationalization, when British industry kept being told that bigger combinations would solve everything. The Churchill Machine Tool Company was bought by Birmingham Small Arms in 1961 for £8.5 million, and then merged with Alfred Herbert in 1966. The pitch was economies of scale and complementary strengths. The results did not live up to the sales brochure. In 1972, production was moved from Altrincham to Coventry, which sparked industrial action and criticism in Parliament. The Altrincham side warned that Coventry did not have deep grinder-making experience, and that moving the expertise could mean 5 years of teething problems, with prestige orders and even survival at risk. The warning was grimly practical. The closure wiped out about 1,000 jobs, and at one point, around 500 Manchester machine tool fitters were chasing just 10 available jobs. What makes it sharper is that Churchill still had a £2.25 million order book, enough to support its 1,100-strong workforce until 1974. Even so, the factory shut, and the company went into liquidation in 1973. After that, the Churchill story splits. The machine tool company was absorbed into the BSA and Alfred Herbert world, while Charles Churchill & Co. was taken over by Tube Investments and later fed into the corporate lineage that led to Matrix Churchill. The wider Charles Churchill Group had expanded through acquisitions like Churchill Redmond, Denham's, and Churchill Gear Machines, often preserving separate identities and management teams. That decentralized approach let it combine American licenses, British engineering, and access to automotive markets. And the name itself just kept resurfacing. Successor companies revived Churchill in 1979, 1999, and 2001, even though those later entities also failed or changed form. So the original manufacturing organizations disappeared, but the brand kept coming back, almost like industry refusing to fully let go of a famous workshop name. What stays with me is how modern this all feels. Global technology transfer, advanced manufacturing, labor surveillance, merger promises, and a famous industrial name surviving the factory that made it matter. Churchill could build machines precise enough for crankshafts and trumpet valves, and still not escape the bigger forces reshaping British industry. That's the roundup for today. This episode was generated by Podkey. Create your own at podkey.fm.